Anime.
Oh
It's
God.
wacky, it's fun, it's loud, it's cheesy, sometimes naughty.
Oh.
What's your opinion on anime?
Well, I haven't seen too many. I feel like I have more of an opinion about the kind of people it attracts than the actual thing itself.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about the fan base. I mean, there's some people who specifically like only one anime, and then there are people who like all anime, right? Like anime as a whole. Like some people would like, oh, I like Death Note or Attack on Titans or just Naruto, because like they saw it as a kid or something. But there's people who are weebs, otakus, neets. These are like terms within the anime community.
What is an otaku? What is the actual definition of that?
Well, I mean, there's like two, but I say it's like someone who's like super duper uber into like a thing. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be anime, it could be video games, it could be books. I think it's mostly like Japanese culture, so it could be like Japanese manga or Japanese like food. Um, because I know it's kind of hard too, because like cosplay, I feel like cosplay goes under that too, like as otaku culture. Like I feel like consuming Japanese stuff is what an otaku is. Like someone who consumes a lot of Japanese media.
Have you heard of the otaku killer?
Probably. Can you remind me?
Well, I only heard that word before because there's
Mhm.
this killer who like he kind of gave like or like he gave anime and manga like a bad rep because he was like
Mhm.
obsessed with it. So then like once his like killings were like discovered and they like saw his house, they were like, "Oh, anime is bad." Like,
Oh yeah. Okay.
this
Huh.
was
No, I
like
don't think I heard this.
um this was probably like in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, that's the only way I've heard that word before.
Yeah, I guess it's like they're trying to find like because like when what's his face? Um is it James Rogers? Aaron Rogers? The
Elliot
incel?
Elliot
Elliot,
Rodger?
Elliot Rogers. Yeah, there you go. When people when that all happened, people thought incels are crazy, but like they were blaming incel culture, Reddit, 4chan. They were blaming the internet for the way he was. But of course, there's like tons of evidence that he made himself that way. It wasn't the stuff. Maybe the people he talked to kind of like help him cement his ideas, but he was already growing the way he had a bad mental health going on, like a bad mental state. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, incels are gross, but like not all of them are violent. So
Okay. There's a lot of overlap between incels and anime fans. There's like waifu pillows, hentai, all stuff like that. Like they consume 2D girls instead of 3D girls. But yeah, it's kind of
well,
cringe.
that's a stereotype, right? Like, oh, they can't get girls in person, so they resort to this.
There are people who marry like anime characters. It's like a real thing. I mean, it's not legal, of course, but like there's people who do it. And yeah, I mean, those are like the way out there cases, It's not like every incel is doing that. But
I mean, it's like because you can make the argument like, oh, it's not that serious because they're not real people.
Mhm.
Like, how much harm is being done? But then like some of them obsess over child characters that are so clearly
Oh,
children, you know?
oh, we're getting real deep into this already. So lollies, that's a big old thing. Okay, so here's the excuse that some people take it, some people don't. So it's just like they're of age, but they look like a child. That's one excuse. But oftentimes in anime, I'm talking about anime because I'm not sure about manga. Oftentimes in anime, characters that are quote unquote lollies are actual little girls. So that excuse is like not applicable to all lollies, as a whole. You know what lolly comes from, right?
I do not.
Okay. I'm
Well,
not sure. This might be just like a rumor or like false fake news. So lolly comes from the word
oh,
and so
are you talking about Lolita?
yeah, Lolita. There you go. What did I say? Lo
I didn't hear. It like cut out. Um,
oh,
yeah, that's another thing we could get into.
yeah.
Because like people like it was a book written in like the 40s or 50s, and
Oh,
then
was it? I thought it was like okay, yeah.
it was turned into a movie, and like the most popular
Oh,
movie was made in the 90s, and like this movie was romanticized so much. Like I was like 11, 12 years old, like seeing people romanticize this stuff on the internet. So like I like grew up thinking this stuff was okay. Um
uh-oh.
yeah. And like the author, I'm pretty like his intent was to show like, oh, this is messed up, right? And obviously the movie is an adaptation of that, but like people twisted it up and they're like, oh, this is cute, even though she's a child. But anyway, so that's where that comes from. I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's where yeah, I guess because you dive into like map on Twitter and stuff like that and other places on the internet. And there is correlation between lolicons, people with a lolly complex, and people who are maps, So like
Hmm.
they're kind of in the same pool, kind of like how furries are with like zoophiles, kind of like in the same pool. That's a whole other subject. Oh, and that's another thing. Okay, so back to anime. Furries have like invaded anime so much so it's so annoying when you watch an anime. Like it's mostly in fantasy animes. So like let's say Sword Art Online or like Black Clover. There's like furries in there and like it comes out of nowhere and it's like gross sometimes.
Hey,
But
furries aren't that bad.
yeah, well, like okay, so there's the excuse that because you've seen cat girls or like bunny girls, right? Like on the internet, like cosplay or whatever. So it's like people are like, oh, it's okay, they only have cat ears, it's cute. But like, then they goes into like actual cats, and this and that, and it gets all the
Uh,
lines get blurred,
yeah.
it's all like, yeah. Or yeah. So yeah, the lollies and furries in anime kind of mixed up in there.
So people justify it by saying that they're technically not children.
Yeah, they okay, so yeah, but that again, that doesn't apply to every character. Um, there's a show called ReZero, and a character named Beatrice. She's like a little girl, but she's like 1,000-year-old spirit or something like that. It's kind of complicated to explain, but she's like 1,000 years old, right? But she looks like a little girl, so she would qualify as a lolly because she's a little girl, basically. And so like people make the excuse, no, bro, it's okay. She's 1,000, like it's not like she's 10, but still,
But like
it's
she's
still
being portrayed as like a child and has child qualities.
yeah, she has tendencies. She has tantrums. She talks like one. She looks like one. She acts like one. So yeah, like there's no excuse. And then like other characters that are like little girls that would fall into lollies. Because I know, okay, because I don't know the actual term, but they separate the term. They separate the two. The lollies who are like 1,000 years old, and the lollies who are actual little girls. There's another name for little girls, but I forget what it's called. It's been years since I've heard that term.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they make distinguishes like to justify their fetish, I guess.
Now I'm thinking about Twilight because Edward is supposed to be like over 1,000 years old.
And he's dating like 18-year-old, 17-year-old.
Yeah, and like he's like stuck in high school. So like
I feel like vampires, that's kind of like how they roll. Like they find young ladies and they're like a billion years old. Um, but how? Okay, so okay, let's talk about Twilight then. So Edward is a guy. He's pretending to be a high schooler as cover, right? Like he's not going there to find a girlfriend. He's just going there to blend in, right, with the humans.
Yeah, so it's so they can stay in one place for a longer time.
That's kind of stupid though. Why not just like become an otaku and hide from the earth and like live and like get
Imagine being immortal and then you're like, I'm just gonna go to high school again and again.
yeah.
Why would
And
you do that?
then, and then like there's yearbook pictures and like there's only so much you can do to hide your face and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um and like events. I mean, I like yeah, they could skip the day they're taking the picture, but usually the school is pretty active in getting you, you know, to take a picture for the yearbook. So yeah, I don't know, man. Um, so Edward Collins. But yeah, so they're vampires, right? And they're rich. Why not just like have blood delivered to the house? How come they have to go like hunt and stuff? Or like why not like keep a zoo at their house or something? Like they're rich enough to do that.
Well, nothing is logical.
And Twilight, yeah. I never read the books, I only saw the movies. So yeah.
Uh,
And apparently the books are better.
I tried to read the books and I got bored.
Mm.
So,
Um,
and anime cringe, or we moved on from that topic.
I mean, there's anime, there's vampires in anime, there's everything in anime. Like anything, okay, mention anything. There's probably an anime about it.
Uh, is there an anime about loving an obese guy?
There's probably one that's there's probably a manga that's going to be an anime soon about that. So yeah.
Oh, it's because
Like
I was watching My 600 Pound Life, so that's like what my mind is on.
okay. So here's two enemies. I'm gonna describe the plots. Okay. The first one, a gynecologist is obsessed with an idol. One day the idol hires him to be her gynecologist. So she goes in, he's there, and then she leaves, and he's like, you know, he's all like, oh my God, I can't believe I actually met her. And he dies. Then he gets reincarnated and he gets reincarnated as the idol's baby. So now the idol that he's obsessed with is his mom and he remembers everything. So he's like a baby that remembers everything. So that's one anime that came out this year of spring. Um, and the second plot, this guy is having trouble finding a girlfriend. So him and his friend, you know, they're hanging out, and the friend's like, "Well, what's your ideal girl? Like, what would she look like?" And so the friend describes, "Well, she would have her hair this way." And so the let's say the best friend is like, "Oh, okay, so like this." So they style their hair the way the guy wants it.
Oh,
And then like, oh, she would wear this kind of clothes and she would put her makeup on like this. So the best friend would like put on the makeup and clothes and they act well in the plot is what's it called? Plot summary. In the
hmm.
plot summary, they say accidentally turning my best friend into my dream girlfriend. But you know, I don't know. But that's
Oh,
two
so
anime.
they're two dudes.
Yeah, the two guys and they accidentally create their own like ideal girl with
Why
each other.
why do I want to watch that?
Yeah, it sounds kind of interesting, but I don't know. Oh, there's also domestic girlfriend where this guy, well, this is also a big old trope in anime where siblings like have crushes on each
Oh
other.
no.
Sword Art Online has that and it gets like super in depth and I hate it. It's like the worst part of Sword Art Online. But yeah. But domestic girlfriend deals with that specifically with having a crush on your sibling. And most of the time, yes, they're adopted, but there's some animes that don't distinguish between adopted siblings, which is still gross, and actual full blood siblings or half blood siblings. So yeah, you know, anime has a dirty history still.
I hate that because then it's like saying that oh adopted siblings aren't like don't fully count, and that's I don't like that.
Yeah. It's I don't know what they that is, you know. It's like the stepmom, you know, like in 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 porn, you know, that's the thing. The stepmom or something like the MILF or whatever. Or even like the stepdad. I've been seeing that more. Not personally seeing it, but like the
Are you
titles. No, stepdad, stepmom, that's been a thing. Stepsister, stepbrother, that's been a thing. So there has to be like okay, here's my theory. Since the rate of divorce has gone up and all the children have grown up as well, that have been in those families are apart, they've probably lived a life where their parent got remarried and that, you know, so that kind of might stem from the fetish, you know, like, oh, my stepmom, she's hot. Whoa. Oh man, well, I guess I can't do anything, blah blah. And so that's where the porn comes in to fulfill that fantasy, which is still kind of gross.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I feel like that's been a thing for as like long as I can remember.
yeah, well, I guess, yeah. But anime. So yeah. Um I feel okay. I've actually been consuming a lot of Korean um media. Um Manga. Well, they don't call it manga. They call it something else in Korean. I forget what it was.
It's like man something.
Something. Yeah, yeah. I'll probably for people who are watching on YouTube, put it on screen what the how to spell what the word is. But it's like Korean manga basically you can call it. K manga. So K manga as it's what I'm consuming. And a lot of it unfortunately is very similar. I feel like because Japan also has this problem where they have like a trend and like every creator gets into it. So like say, oh, fast cars is like the hot thing this year. So every manga comes out, it's going to be about fast cars. But it's even worse for K manga because they stick to the trends like super hard. It's not just like a year thing or a month thing. It's like 5 years they write for the same thing. Like, oh, I'm this dude who can turn into a lizard. Oh, and then so like 500 stories come out the same thing, and it's kind of tedious to like sift through, but a lot of it's pretty okay.
I haven't read too many, but my friends read them, and the thing that comes up a lot
Hmm.
is rape.
So like
So
like like fantasizing over it, or just like the situation of rape, like drama. Is it like a drama thing or?
it's like between two, like the love interest and like the relationship will start like that, and then like they'll end up
So it's
liking
like
it. It's
romanticizing it.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's probably not a fault of the authors themselves. It's probably because like for some reason they have this problem where they get stuck in like something, and so like they have to like mimic the other authors, but still it's still not right to
Yeah.
romanticize it. And of course I'm not gonna blame it on culture because no culture that's right, you know. So and that's a danger to women and men. Like men are gonna read it and be like, oh, you know, this is how I get someone to like me. Or a girl is like who's a victim of that may like think like, oh, this is okay because you know in the stories I read, you know, the girls end up liking it, so it's okay. I shouldn't, you know, call for help. You know, it's awful. It's terrible. Yeah, I don't know.
And like the K dramas that I've watched, I don't know if it's like the translation that makes it sound off, but like
Uh-huh.
a lot of the times the guys will be like, "You can only like me and no one else, only
Um,
me." Like, and it just feels very
like
forceful. But then it's
possessive.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
but then it's supposed to be like cute. So I don't know if it's like the translation that makes it look more harsh than what it sounds like. But
I, I've it's probably a translation thing, but it's like I've noticed that nowadays, like more and more, like not just Korean or Japanese, but like American, like if you go on Wattpad right now, there's probably like, oh, the how I got kidnapped by the mobster, or like, oh, how I got kidnapped by the leader of a werewolf pack, or something stupid like that. or like, oh, the billionaire that stole my heart, or something like that. Um, there's like tons of like literature out there written about like how a overbearing man comes along and or like 50 Shades of Grey. That's a perfect example. This guy, he does like all these like demeaning things to the girl. I don't know their names, but like he does all these crazy things, and she ends up, she ends up liking it too, and she has ideas, and so like they get funky with it, and so it's not just a Korean thing. I feel like some women who may not be as experienced with partners kind of like fantasize about having a guy doing that because like
Yeah.
they, so I don't know.
Because like, okay, I'm using my friends as an example, so I'm like kind of putting their business out there. So she was like one of those people who were like really into those stories, right? And then
Yeah.
she like started like actually having real life experiences, and she was like, "Oh, real life isn't like that at all. Like people are like normal, like."
I thought you were gonna make this like go the other way. I thought you were gonna say she got an abusive boyfriend and she loves
Oh
it. I thought you were
no,
gonna say that. Like,
no.
oh,
Like
like yeah,
she kind of realized that like, oh, this is just like a romanticized version of how things go down in real life.
yeah. Like there's like tons of memes back to anime. There's tons of memes like stuff like anime characters say in Japanese, like say you're watching the sub, and like terms they use in anime don't actually translate well into actual like Japanese conversations and stuff like that. Like saying, "Oh, senpai, you're so kawaii," stuff like that. Like Japanese people don't say that. Like like konnichiwa, senpai, stuff like that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like there's phrases in Korean too where like you only use them in specific situations, but then like
Mhm.
Korea boos are calling guys names all the time, and it's so cringy.
Yeah. It's like when you're like, because like there's like different like standings within society, right? Like depending on how close you are, that's when you can use certain language, like saying it's like comparing like, oh, you're my bestie. I would only say that if you're like a good friend of mine. But if I said that to a stranger, like, oh hey bestie, that's kind of weird. So I
Oh,
guess like,
people kind of do that like online though. They'll just say bestie to everyone. So
but that's online though, and that's like a little quirk that people work into their typing.
yeah. So
Little characters and
I don't know if they
emojis.
would I don't know if they would say that in person. I hope not, because I would be like, what if someone did that to me?
Yeah, or like what would be another thing? I guess homie. Homie's kind of silly though. Like no one really says homie.
Mm,
Um,
um, yeah,
like
it
oh, what's
just
up,
sounds
fam? I guess
too
like saying
casual.
fam or something. No, people say fam too and casually too. I guess I guess English speakers are just like more open with each other. Um, not as reserved as Koreans and Japanese and Chinese and Vietnamese and Taiwanese and this and that. Um, can you tell I've had a lot of sugar today?
What did you eat?
Mm, I've been drinking a lot of tea. Oh God. And sorry, I was just finishing off some tea right now. And I put too much sugar into it. Too many spoons.
Isn't there
So
caffeine in tea?
not in this one. Not in this one. This is like all natural.
Mm.
But yeah. Wait, caffeine, you say? Oh yeah, usually some teas there's more caffeine. I thought you meant like sugar. But yeah, like depending on what kind of tea you get, it can have lots of caffeine or like very low caffeine. And there's even some teas that help you sleep and stuff. Um, but yeah. Well, since we're kind of on it anyways, let's talk about like literature. Have you read anything recently, like of worth noting?
I started this book
Ooh.
called
Ooh.
what is it called? Oh, it's called
Ooh.
I'm Thinking of Ending Things. And when you Google it, you got to be careful because suicide prevention comes up.
Oh. Yeah, yeah,
But basically it's about this girl who's on like a road trip with her boyfriend off to this kind of like remote farm to meet his parents.
Oh,
And there's a movie, I watched the movie, but I can't even explain what happens because it's just like really eerie. And I saw people saying, oh, the ending makes more sense in the book, so now that's why I'm reading the book.
yeah.
What
I
have you been
guess
reading?
me. Where have I been reading? Uh, what was it? I just finished a fan fiction. Well, no, I guess I didn't finish, but I caught up to it. It's called The Divine Hunter. But the character, it's kind of like, you know what an isekai is, right?
I do not.
Like an anime term. Back to anime. So isekai is when someone either gets teleported, trapped, reincarnated, or summoned to another world, or even universe, or something like that. It's kind of iffy of like say if I was like sent to Mars, would that count as isekai? Maybe not. So usually it's like another universe. What's it called? I was gonna say, oh yeah. So it's an isekai. So the character, he played the video games in real life, but then he woke up as like a boy who's like just the right age to be abducted as a witcher. Because in the games, you like only kids can become witchers because of when you get like too old, your hormones like get in the way because like you have to drink all these like weird poisons and stuff. It's like this whole thing. Um, but anyways, so he wakes up as a kid and he like realizes, oh whoa, this is the video game I play. What's going to happen? So like they go along and everything like they already know what's going to happen. So that's how they get ahead of like the problems. Like say there's a bridge that collapsed. So like they know, oh, if I go here a week earlier, the bridge would be there so I can cross, no problem. So it's stuff like that. It's
Oh,
kind of neat. It's kind of
that
neat to follow.
sounds interesting.
Yeah, and then like there's like the because the game is like it's kind of like Sherlock Holmes. Like there's murders and or robberies, so like they investigate stuff and like I don't know if the author is like stealing some of these mysteries because they're kind of good. Like they're just kind of good. So you get into like the mystery into all of it, like the investigations they do, and I think because like I hate mysteries because usually I know what's gonna happen, but sometimes like the author like this author isn't that good either at like disguising stuff, so I kind of can tell. But the most recent
Mm.
chapter, I kind of I was struggling to like guess what was gonna happen, so it got me pretty good today. So yeah,
So you haven't finished it yet.
no, because well, the author hasn't finished it. I don't think.
Oh, that's a commitment, reading something that hasn't been completed.
Yeah, yeah.
You know how many heartbreaks I've had over fan
Like something
fiction?
that's like stopped. Yeah, yeah. I hear the story all the time. Like people like, oh man, I'm following this, and oh shoot, it's been 2 years since they posted. But yeah,
I mean, that's kind of us right now.
let's not talk about that.
Oh, okay, okay.
You want to talk about K fiction? We've talked about it before on here.
I mean, what is there to say? We haven't added much since the last time we talked about it.
I know. It's awful. It's awful. Like I keep like there's that cliche like, oh, what do you do? I'm an author. Oh, really? Have any stories? Yeah, I'm working on one. And then like they've been working on it for like 5 years, 6 years on the same story. So I kind of get that feeling like, oh man, yeah, it is kind of tough to write. It's like literally motivation, it's like nothing else. That's the only thing in the way, for me at least.
I think I don't know, like I want to finish it, but at the same time, I'm like, is this a sign to move on to another story, or maybe I
I
should stop doing that? Like I
I
need a
say
fix or something.
I say once we finish this one, we try to publish the first one and then this one. I'm serious, by the way. Like we should try to publish uh Small Bird. We should of course re-edit it and then like try to publish it. Like
Like
legit.
like an I don't know if it's worthy enough for that.
I think it's good. It's good. And then we have like Moth to a Flame on the standby, ready to go. The sequel story. Because Ari, the first one with Ari, nothing really happens. It's just like Ari getting inducted and like learning stuff. Like nothing really happens. This is like it's kind of like high school drama, but with Kai, like legit, like family issues come in. Her morals come in. I feel like Kai is more of a character than Arya is by this point.
That's what I'm saying. Kai is such a more interesting character.
Yeah, it's because like we've been beating on her too much. That's why. Like Ari, we have like she's Ari struggles, but that's it. Like it's just a little bit of a struggle, a bit of a grind. But Kai, she's like suffering. Like she has this tragic backstory to make readers sympathize with her. That's the only reason. It's not like we hate Kai or anything. It's to get sympathy. And
Yeah.
I think we've done that. We've done that pretty well. We just got to continue on. We got to get rid of another character so they can be free to become K-pop idols without any like baggage. So yeah, we just got to get that down.
We will finish it eventually.
Eventually. And you guys, the listeners, will be the first to hear about it. But yeah, all 20 of you.
Is there even 20 anymore?
Um, I feel like yeah, the last time we got like 22 views, 20-ish, around there.
Um, Thank you all listening. For yeah, we
Loser.
thank you for listening to us ramble. We definitely need to do this more often again, but like, I mean, do we even have anything important to say?
No, we don't.
You